first episode of the DoodMan podcast. Here we are, Ben and Kosta.
Pilot, first one ever. You saw it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah. All right, let's get straight into these memes. We each picked out 10 memes, and we're just gonna smash 20 memes right here, right now.
We're gonna tell you what we feel about them and like why they speak to us. Okay, this one was hilarious. So I was looking for the memes for this episode, and my roommate Kale was telling me, okay, you're looking on iFunny. That's kind of a garbage place to look on memes. And I was like, all right, first off, I disagree, but whatever. And then he said, well, you can go to Reddit. Reddit has memes that are specific to what you want to look for, and it's also a place to find good porn. And then I saw that, and I was like, porn and memes and a normal app, and I was like, okay, this is like exactly what we were just talking about. We do in fact live in a simulation.
Oh yeah, and it's like Reddit is a whole bunch of little communities, and the little communities memes and porn. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. There's two coins to it, and then that's it. It's kind of like the thing is too. It's not it's not like 4chan where you have to search through like mountains of like gore and porn and other just things you didn't want to find the memes. You have to mine for them.
I think it's really cool that each subreddit can like moderate its own. They can moderate their own space and say like, okay, we only want to see like videos of dogs that are doing this, and the moderators will go through and clear everything off that isn't that, so you have a cohesive experience in that subreddit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very uniform and very easy to find what you want.
And then the mods go through and they remove watch people die. What's up with that?
Yeah. They actually got rid of that?
I'm pretty sure they did, yeah.
That's unfortunate, man. Like, watch people die was kind of entertaining, but...
There's still 4chan, so it's not totally gone. But if 4chan cucks out like Reddit did, then, then you gotta go somewhere else.
Do you think 4chan will actually have, like, moderators one day?
They do have moderators. They remove all the CP from the site, because you can't host that. Like, it doesn't matter how much of the Wild West you want to be, you can't host that.
Yeah, no, you'll get shut down very fast. Man, I remember... Oh, man. Yeah, no, 4chan is a bad place. I recommend staying off the site, if you don't already go there. But if you are on there, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, they lost their cloud hosting recently.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, it was Cloudflare that was doing their hosting for them, and they maybe it was 8chan, but regardless, they just got a different host and stayed up. When Parler lost their hosting service, which was Amazon Web Services, they just caved. They just freaking folded.
They were just like, yeah, we don't exist.
Yeah, but it was more than that for them. Like Visa, I'm pretty sure that Visa refused to process transactions for them. So it's like,
oh
yeah, just make your own web hosting service or find one, and just like go use a different global banking network that's not Visa, and just like make your own phones so that you don't have to worry about iOS or the Apple Play Store or the Google Play Store removing your content. Just do all that, and then you
make your own cellular network.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. All right, what's next? What do we got?
Oh, we got this video of Tom Cruise.
I'm gonna show you some magic. It's the real thing. I mean, it's all the real thing.
What's interesting about this one is that that's actually not Tom Cruise. This is a deepfake. So this is somebody that, may or may not actually look like Tom Cruise, and an algorithm has pasted Tom Cruise's face over his pretty darn convincingly. I mean, if you look really closely here, you can see like a shadow on the chin, and like knowing that it's a deepfake, you could scan it, but like that's pretty convincing. That's freaking Tom Cruise right there.
Yeah, the first time I saw this, admittedly, I was kind of convinced that it actually was him. I didn't realize it was a deep fake. It's fucking crazy what we can do now.
And it's got his voice and his laugh and his mannerisms. Like, I don't know how much of that was this guy, like, learning how Tom Cruise laughs and, like, how he pulls his face up. How much was the AI watching a bunch of videos of Tom Cruise and figuring it all out for him. But we could probably do this with anybody. With, like, literally anybody.
You can. Well, yeah, you can show any deep learning algorithm just thousands of hours of someone's, facial expressions and just talking and, just a video of that person, and they can eventually figure out how to replicate that. It's crazy how powerful it is now.
Yeah, so like, how do you know that anything's real? How do you know that these videos of people online, like, I don't know, let's go with politicians, right? Somebody deep fakes a speech of, say,
like the president.
Yeah, or like, what if that, when Beto O'Rourke was running for Senate and he said, yes, we're gonna take your AR-15s, yes, we're gonna take your AK-47s, and it was like basically cost him the Senate race for him to say that. What if that was a deep fake? I know it's not, but like, similar caliber event, like somebody just like deep deep fakes a political career ending speech and fucking
Right.
throws it out there.
Well, yeah, and people don't want to put any thought or research into it either. So,
As
you
soon
know,
as
if
you
they
see it, it's in your mind.
yeah, yeah, and so and you know, if there is a fake video, I mean, after that, like, you know, every video after that could be fake, and you'll have to start verifying that it's true.
And
You
then
know,
and then the deep fake will be the primary source for other shit. People will have like they'll make a meme that's all text and it'll be like, you know, talking about the contents of the deep fake or whatever, and then they post that and somebody makes a meme based off that, and suddenly the primary source is wrong, but it's like so far removed from the original information that you'd have to be a sleuth to track it down.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and that's why people that like look into the metadata of photos, like they are my heroes because you know they do the Lord's work to verify that what they're looking at is true and all that. But I never go into looking into that shit. You know, it's too much work.
Yep. Usually what I'll do is like, you know, if I see something that's questionable, I'll scroll down to the comments and see what people are saying about it. Because if it is not true or fake, this community of internet goblins they'll usually figure it out and have
Yeah.
something to say.
Dude, you know, that's like one thing, like going back to Reddit, that's like one thing that's amazing about Reddit is that they figured out where that monolith in the middle of the desert earlier this year was just from like people like using geolocation and like photos from like satellites, and they went there and took a picture with it. It was crazy.
They figure
You know,
everything out.
I know, but and it's just it all goes to say that you know people don't put as much critical thought into verifying the truth anymore. It's like one of the most important things you can do nowadays, where the market is saturated with information. You know, to make sure that what you're putting into your mind is actually true.
Yeah, and whoever controls your feed controls what you see, and they control like what your objective reality looks like.
Right.
That's
all right.
crazy. Yeah. Let's next meme.
Next meme. Okay, this one just spoke to me generationally. So it's search. How can I kill myself? Google. We can help. Call 1-800-273-8255. Bing. It says suicide. So like this was funny to me for two reasons. Like number one, we've got the whole Google and Bing battle going on once again, and it's kind of true. Like every time you do search something like that in Google, it'll tell you like, hey, we can help. Call 1-800-273-8255, and it's a suicide hotline. But Bing, yeah, no, it'll just show you whatever you want, man. Like there's no regard for its users whatsoever.
But yeah, Google curates its results. They do, and their motto used to be "Don't be evil," but now I think it's something different.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that I saw this other meme a long time ago, where it was like, searching something in Google, it'll give you exactly what you want, and the other one was like search something in Bing, and it'll show you just like some interactive map of Portugal or something like that, like something you totally didn't care about.
I think
and then,
they fixed that though.
They did. Yeah, I think it's gotten a little bit better in the past years for sure. I remember when years ago Bing was like had this rewards program where if you did like X number of searches a day, you would get like a small little payout for each search. And they did away with it because people were just using bots. And I have to admit that I was one of those people that was using a bot to farm the system. You could get like a $5 Amazon gift card. And I remember Christian, our friend, got enough money to buy like $25 worth of warheads off of Amazon.
Nice.
And we enjoyed those for a few months.
So all you had to do was just make searches on the engine?
Yeah, it was Bing rewards, and you just had to sign up with an account. You didn't have to have like an Outlook email or anything. You just had to have an account, and like the more you did it, the bigger the rewards were. You could get like a larger Amazon gift card. You get like $10, $25. Can't remember what the other ones were, but they were like other similar things like that, other gift cards to other sites. And yeah, eventually they caught on, and like they just killed the program because they're like, this is costing us money, and people aren't actually using our server. They're just farming it to a robot.
Oh yeah, love it. They get probably most of their searches from people just like hitting the Windows button. Like if you hit the Windows button and then type something in, it'll take you straight to Bing.
Yeah.
Because Microsoft owns Bing and Microsoft owns Windows, so why not do it all in house?
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, and they have it by default. It's funny. It's the same reason why Google got in trouble for owning Android and having Google as the default search engine on the phones a long time ago. Now it doesn't really matter because I mean it makes sense, but people are pointing the finger at them because of that. And look at that, like everyone does it. So like why should it even matter?
There was something when Microsoft was starting up, they had their own web browser, right? They had Internet Explorer back in a time
Right.
when people were paying for Netscape, and that was one of the antitrust things brought against them. Is well, you're shoving other internet browsers out of the market by providing yours for free. It's like, well, yeah, but I also make the operating system. I have a vested interest in making sure that the whole thing works.
Right. Yeah, like nowadays, if Windows like came out with a or not Windows, like Microsoft came out with an operating system or like an updated version of Windows that did not have a browser used to download Chrome or Mozilla, that would be kind of crap, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you'd have to go to Best Buy and buy a CD for Netscape or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And at that point, you might as well download Linux because then you're gonna have to do some crazy stuff to download, programs off the internet anyways.
Yeah, look at this. Google handles 92% of global searches, and Bing is next in line with 3%. And boy, they had to fight for that 3% market share. Like, it took money and campaigning and fucking development hours.
Yeah, they've put their work in. It's kind of funny. Google is absolutely ubiquitous. What website is this? Just Stat Counter?
Yeah, it was just the first one that came up.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it shows you use the search engine market share for each one.
Yeah, and I don't know what these two are. This Baidu
Yahoo?
and Yandex. They sound Asian. Like maybe one's
East Asian?
India.
You should
one's...
search them.
Yeah.
It is.
It's the Chinese search engine.
Makes sense that they have like the fourth largest or fifth largest market share in search engine.
But only 1.3% of global searches. Like, oh.
Well, hold on now. That 1.3% is taking place mostly in just one country. Remember that. 92% of searches are done worldwide or done by Google. So like the fact that one country has like 1.3% is pretty crazy.
For real. And
Russian,
I wonder
yeah.
if
See,
they
that's
even
another one that
allow
makes sense.
Google.
Huh?
I wonder if they even allow Google in China. Like, if Google
No.
is PC enough for them.
No, it's not controlled enough for them. However, does it not make sense that the first three Google or the first three search engine companies are, the top three are all in the United States where it all originated, and the rest of them are in separate world powers like China and Russia.
And then DuckDuckGo is for like free peeps. I use DuckDuckGo because its main claim to fame is like the privacy and the lack of tracking. I don't know how much of that's actually true because I can't look at their code and verify. I live in the objective reality where someone told me that it is secure, and so I believe that it is secure until it is not.
Don't you know that you can believe anything that people tell you on the internet?
Oh yeah.
Freaking told me that I could.
No need to verify. Alright, let's get this next meme rolling.
Yeah, okay, this one. Yeah. Yeah, see, this was just something I faced this year, and that's why this one spoke to me. Like, I worked my butt off in the middle of this year in the middle of summer, and I was just tired, and I was gone from home for a month, and after that, I was just trying as hard. After I got back, I was just like, man, I don't feel okay with my job anymore. And then the Pikachu face was just like, and I was like, I feel this. I just felt it to my soul. It goes to show you cannot always push yourself flat out just for a job. It's not healthy. And on top of that, it's money is not more valuable than your happiness or your health. It really isn't. That's just my 2 cents on it. But I think that it's important to remember that we exist. People and human beings existed before money existed, and just because it's around doesn't mean it has actual control of our existence.
And you can survive on surprisingly little. I mean,
right?
You don't need to have 6 figures.
Yeah, no, this one really spoke to me though.
Yeah, be like that. I don't know. I'm always conflicted between like following my ambitions to gain monetary value and just like not being a part of the system because it just like destroys you.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's a book I've read called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. I don't know. Have you ever heard of it?
I've heard of it, but I haven't looked into it.
That's exactly what it's about. The whole book, I think it's so he splits it out, and I think it's into 5 chapters. 4 chapters. I'm sorry. It's called Deal. So, D is for I don't remember actually, but I have to pull my book out. Find me on my bed. I'll be right back. Search it quick. But yeah, it's like the idea of the book is to eliminate like work wherever possible and make more money per unit of time rather than just per unit like a year. There we go.
Sense.
Oh yeah, you should click on the 5 takeaways. Right there you had it. There we go. Yeah, D is for, like, so the whole idea of the book is that like it's a you live a designed life like the way you intended, and so like D is for definition, E is for elimination, A is for automation, L is for liberation.
Amazing.
And so like that's his new deal he proposes.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what people at the top have been doing is automation. Just like, I need an accountant to keep track of all the accounts. And so I will automate it by hiring you, the accountant, and you, the manager of accounting, and you, the director of HR, who will all work together to automate this process for me so that I never even have to think about it. It all just happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it optimizes you to go do other things, like make more money, to just do more things like that. And I think the idea too that it's funny. It talks about like well, I don't know necessarily I can't really tell you if that book talks about this like that or not, but the idea was that most people pick the deferred life plan, and that deferred life plan was like, okay, secure a high paying job from a college degree and like work the rest of your life until you can retire, and like you defer all your enjoyment in life until when you retire. And that this doesn't sound really appealing to me, and like that's what the 4 hour work week is about, is that you seek passion now, you eliminate things that don't really are inefficient, like the idea that we have to work 40 hours a week is completely inefficient. Like, I don't need to be at work 40 hours a week in order to produce all the work that is required of me. There's some things I can do in less time, but my company's just like, nope, you got to be there. And I just
Yep.
don't subscribe to that.
And
So
value isn't generated by people hanging around. It's generated by people producing. So like, if you can produce in 4 hours by discovering something and then automating a process to produce, then you're producing. That's all that matters. Doesn't matter if you're present.
right, exactly. Part of the automation part of the 4 hour work week was like, you can delegate things out to these virtual assistant companies all over the world. Like, the one it talked the most about was like Indian virtual assistants, and there's also ones in Canada and in the United States. But typically the ones in India are a little less pricey. Like, you can hire a virtual assistant from a company called Your Man in India by I think by $6 an hour. Some of them go as low as like 4.
It's crazy.
Yeah, now of course, like, the more you pay, the more you get. Like, you can get virtual assistants that have like master's degrees in things like accounting and other stuff like that. But those are more like $15 an hour for just like work that you sub out. So I did try to get something started with them, but I was a little too ambitious. I was like, hey, I want to commission like 1,000 designs, like, of differently designed t-shirts. I don't care what the designs are. And they're like, cool, we can do that. That'll be $35,000. So I'm like, cool, I don't have $35,000, but I'm glad you can do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Some things they scrub for like images on Twitter or whatever, where somebody in the comments says that they want that on a t-shirt, and it combs the internet for those, and when it finds the comment that says I want that on a t-shirt, it looks at the image and adds it to their database, and if ever get order on website, then they'll figure out making the t-shirt. So it literally is just like, and you could call it an artwork stealing machine, because I doubt that they actually credit the original author. Because who knows if original poster is original author.
See, it does kind of suck for the original author, but if you're looking to be a lazy bastard, that is a quick way to make a buck if you if you can afford it, I guess. But it's one of those things where money begets money. Like, I was gonna do it if I could have afforded it, but I don't have that yet. One day I will.
Yeah, Louis Rossman was talking about that. He was like, I can't be a broke boy and do all the things that I want to do. Yesterday I was broke Louis Rossman, and today I'm the Louis Rossman that buys $60,000 worth of Retina displays to repair Apple products. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta have money to buy that. It's it sucks. That's why I think if I focus on my passions more, it would be a little bit more I don't know, life wouldn't seem as stupid.
Yeah.
Like it would be a little bit more efficient.
And you'd have more time to like form human connections with people around you, instead of just like, I'm in my cubicle, don't bother me. I'm at the grocery store, don't bother me. I'm at the park, don't bother me. Why are all these people around me? It's disgusting. I wish I was rich enough to be alone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, dude, I remember when I was opening my store some mornings, I did not want customers to come in. I just wanted to be by myself. I didn't want to have to deal with any of them because I was by myself, and I was like, no, please leave me alone. This is my alone time. But inevitably they would always come.
People deal with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, man. Well, you want to hop on to the next one?
Next meme time.
When you just, okay. Yeah, there wasn't much to this one for me, except for the fact that, like, every time I have to be in front of someone who's crying, I just, like, I never know what to do. Like, do you? Like, does anyone know what to do with a crying person?
It's always different. Like, are you crying because you're frustrated, or because you're like upset, or is it this or something else? Do you want like solutions or comfort? Like,
like, I don't know. Part I find that it's okay to just like leave people who are crying alone, but I did I don't know, I did as a kid like learn to hate crying, because I thought it was like, I don't know, it wasn't gonna get me what I wanted. So I was like, all right, well, I shouldn't cry then. It's not effective. And for the most part, that does cut out on like just crying for random things. But I think that's one of like the differences between men and women is that men, are taught to like, stuff emotions down like that. And, women are taught to be, well, I don't necessarily if they're taught to be more emotional, but quite often they're not like suppressed like that.
Sometimes it can't help though. I saw a video yesterday. It was like this people at an airsoft field or whatever, and they're holding their position in this house, and this kid is running up to them, and they ping the kid with the airsoft BBs, and he's kind of too young to know that he needs to like put his hand up and say hit, and so he just starts screaming and runs into the building where they are, and they light him up because he's not calling his hits, and this kid's like 5 or 6 years old, and he starts crying, and he's like holding his butt, and he's crying because they shot him in the ass and it hurts. And
oh my god, yeah.
And the dudes that were there were just like, like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Somebody come get this kid. He's in our position and he's crying.
That is a little too young to be in an airsoft field, I think. 6 years old is like, you could get, I mean, he probably was like seriously hurt. Like, he probably had some huge welts relative to the size of his body all over his butt.
Those dudes shoot pellets at like 400 feet per second, and they hurt.
Yeah, no, that's hard.
Eventually, somebody came and consoled him, but like those guys weren't gonna console him. They were just gonna mill around and like easy face.
Kid's crying. What do we do? Yeah. My mom got a COVID vaccine because she started crying. She's telling me the story about how she went. So now that school teachers in Texas are like good to get it, she just went and she's like, I don't have an appointment, but I want to get a vaccine. And she was there and she was waiting in line, and they were like, you guys your district isn't signed up to get vaccines yet. We need you to exit. And then she turned her car off because she was crying and didn't move. And then like in like 5 minutes, they're just like, come back to 4:30. We'll help you out. And I was like, amazing. Oh my god, that worked? Like, if I started crying, I don't know if that would actually work the same for me. My mom has gotten out of a speeding ticket before because she was crying too. Like, she was driving to her job and like her car wasn't the best at the time, and she broke out crying, and the cop didn't write her a ticket.
Well, they can tell, like other people can tell. They're like, this person does not need to catch any shit from me right now. They're at capacity.
Yeah, I was like, all right, maybe it's not like right now is not the time. Just go home. All right, next meme.
Next meme. This one has to do with objective reality again. So this is the science of anti-vaxxers, or really anything, because you look at these trends and it's like, yeah, we got the general trend, we got the outlier. Yep, just like that.
Right.
Except all of these studies were perhaps subsidized by people who had a vested interest. And maybe this study is the one independent study where the guy really put his own skin on the line to publish it. No one else is doing that.
Exactly. Yeah, and and I can see how that gains traction too, because it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. People don't, they don't verify things on the internet, and so when they see things like that, it seems crazy, and it's like, well, I can really see how this guy might have like really laid his life on the line to publish that marshmallows are actually made out of cocaine. He's onto something here, and now you get people who just buy into it.
Yep, maybe this is all the people posting about the deep fake, like, oh, what a travesty it is that they would say that, and then this is the guy who's actually in the deep fake, and he's like, I was there, I never did that. And they're like, that's what you would say.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, no, that's just a lie.
We can all see right through it. I mean, I've watched Charisma on Command, and I can tell that you're lying.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, you're full of shit, man. Like, you're lying.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
What controls what objective reality we live in? I'd like to see that all this science is repeatable, like that whatever is producing these data points is repeatable, and not just that it's repeatable, but that it is also repeated, like that
and verifiable too. Well, yeah, which I guess means it can be repeated. Yeah. Well, and what's worse is that so I don't know if you know who Dr. Andrew Huberman is. Do you?
I do not.
He was a professor, or is a professor at Stanford, I think, or something like that. He actually started his own podcast on YouTube recently because he's not happy with the fact that scientific knowledge is kind of like vaulted inside universities. Like, most people in the general public don't get to hear cool things like he researches, unless like he communicates it. So like he's kind of dedicated part of his time to being a science communicator so the public can actually, learn and understand how things work. He specifically focuses on neuroscience. So a lot of his studies are about that, and a lot of his podcasts are about that. but there's a lot of good information in there. Like it'll talk about EMDR, which is this like it's an eye movement exercise that he found and helped study, where you move your eyes like laterally, like left and right, while you're talking about a past trauma, and it helps you to kind of like reduce the anxiety when talking about it's like stressful subjects like that. So it's like what it simulates is whenever you're walking, and so that like that activates your parasympathetic nervous system, because like it's like all the like neurons from like your kind of like chest area up here down, and they all work together. So whenever you're walking around, you're kind of like actively using it and like sensing your environment, and so that's why doing that helps reduce it, because it feels like you're on the lookout even though you're not really in danger.
That's pretty neat.
Oh yeah. But yeah, like the fact that I could learn that and tell you about it is awesome. The fact that not everyone gets the opportunity to learn that kind of stuff is, I think, it's not admissible. Like we need to fix that.
And then you have studies that are like, we found that eating chocolate can actually help you lose weight. People are like, share that on Facebook right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh, drinking a glass of wine will make me live to 100. Like, and then you see like Betty White just drinking a huge glass of wine the size of your head, and it's just like, all right. Like people love that stuff. Like they want to just hear things that verify their truth. And that's another thing. Part of like proving things is like doing everything you can to prove it wrong, not just to prove it right. Because like if it can be proven wrong, well, I mean, then maybe you need to change your approach.
Yeah,
like,
there's always the null hypothesis. Like, what if there is no trend? What if the bullshit that we put in our hypothesis is actually null? This doesn't mean anything.
Yes, exactly. Like it held no value whatsoever. Like I don't know. And okay, that just kind of translates to another subject, like around objective reality not being followed, which is like in the automotive industry. I realized this last year that there's a lot of untruths in the industry because everyone's dad taught them how to be a mechanic, and everyone's like, my dad's a mechanic, and I'm like, well, where did your dad go to school to be a mechanic? My dad's dad taught him how to be a mechanic. I'm like, all right, that's not okay, whatever. And so, but I hear a lot of like stupid things. Like people are like, oh, well, my Toyota, I'm gonna put 10W30 oil in it because my dad told me to. And I was like, all right, well, that thing actually wants 0 to 20, and like, I don't know, you're not really actually doing yourself any favors by doing that. And they don't care. Look, no, their dad told them he's the end all be all source, and they didn't do any further thinking because an authority figure told them in their life that that's what was true. Yep. So no further research was needed.
And those engineers don't know anything. Like when they stamp 0W20 on the oil cap, that's just a marketing ploy. That's all that is. My dad knows better.
No, the oil change shop just wants to take advantage of me. They want to screw me for like 20 or 40 more dollars. I'm like, okay, no, not really, but whatever. Oh, it's even worse with European car owners too. They like, a lot of them will be some cheap bastards that bought an expensive car because they wanted to live a lifestyle and not actually just enjoy the car. And so when it comes time to change the oil, they're like, oh, well, just give me the cheapest thing you got. The cheapest thing you got. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, that will ruin your motor, so you can't do that. This is what we do recommend, because like they came with your car, so we'll recommend them Castrol Edge to like Volkswagen owners, because that's what those cars came with. And then they get upset when like they're like, well, that's more expensive. I'm like, you bought a more expensive car, you realize that, right? Like, the maintenance is going to be more expensive.
Yeah, like, no, I don't want to maintain it. I just want to have it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like no one does research into anything like that before they buy it, and like so they're what they think should an oil change for a car like that should cost is different from what we actually know it to be. But best thing you can do is educate people, and those who listen will hopefully further disseminate that knowledge.
I find it really disturbing how people will just proliferate misinformation. Like it's people, and they'll say it to you straight face, like it's the truth, and you're like, no,
oh no, oh I know.
I was talking to this guy at the store the other day about lithium, and I was like, yeah, they get most of the lithium from the lithium triangle in South America. He's like, no, I thought it was Asia. I was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's the lithium triangle in South America, like Argentina, like right in that area. And they actually use a lot of the region's fresh water to produce the brine to process it. And he's like, well, you're a mechanical engineer. You're not a chemical engineer. Like, I can't know things.
You?
Yeah,
you can know things. Like, geez, man, that's annoying.
And I bet he didn't go research it. He was just like, that's a mechanical engineer trying to tell me something chemical, and I know that the lithium triangle's in South America and that they mine it out of the ground in chunks and that they don't use brine. Like,
All right, well, then tell me how they mine potassium, dude. Just tell me. And like, I'm sure he couldn't answer that either. Joke's on him. It's the same fucking process for lithium as it is for potassium.
Yep.
It's
Because
just
it
it
doesn't
all just
exist
get
as like it doesn't exist as like fucking just Li, the element, where when you mix it with water it explodes. It's a rock. It's a ceramic, lithium,
it's
and a non-metal.
exactly. And yeah, no, he obviously just thought he knew what it was. He just made it up in his mind and then further spread it.
He lives in his own objective reality. Like I don't think he's ever going to be responsible for processing lithium, so it doesn't really matter
It
in the
doesn't
grand
matter,
scheme
yeah.
of things.
Well, what's worse is that was he actually like a chemical engineer?
No, he did fire suppression systems.
Oh, well, okay, so he's not even an authority figure to begin with.
He's
but
equally
going to-
unqualified.
Yeah, and he's gonna act like an authority figure on the subject, and probably lesser intelligent people will probably listen to him and believe him, and further disseminate false information.
Yep, and then it all ends up on Facebook. Let's run it
Oh
on
yeah.
Facebook.
Well, hold on. No, that Facebook is a credible source of information, but watch out for Wikipedia. You can't trust anything you read on Wikipedia.
People get all upset about those Facebook fact checkers. Like I was watching one of the court hearings, right? So Mark Zuckerberg is in court and he's testifying, and they're like, "So how do you pick the fact checkers?" And Mark's like, "We don't pick the fact checkers. We sub out a third party company that subs out third party people to check the facts. Like we are not involved in the. That's the whole point, is that we're not involved in the process."
That's awful though, because like you don't know they get paid. Okay, so I read an article about this. They get paid like $30,000 a year to actually do all the fact checking. The people who actually do it. The board who is in charge of that, they get paid something like $2.5 million a year. Crazy.
Yeah.
It's like you realize who's actually in charge of the information. It's someone who's getting paid $30,000 a year. I mean, are they gonna do the best job because they're getting paid to work more for less? It's like, no, probably not.
And
who knows
do
what
people
this-
who sign up to be fact checkers, like, do they have an inherent bias? Maybe
Right.
maybe like 70% of people who are likely to sign up to be fact checkers are like liberal minded and
Exactly.
subscribe to that belief system.
Yeah, like you don't know what their what do you call it? Their beliefs are like it could skew the version of reality that they let out. Let me see. Actually,
We would hope that the fact checkers could find facts and like actually carve out for us an objective reality that's built off of reality. But I don't know that that's always the case. Fact checking Facebook.
Fact checking
checkers.
Facebook's fact checkers. Yeah, I think that was the one. Yeah, and look right there.
And right wing
You know what's
popular
funny, too?
sentiment be banished.
It's funny to use Wall Street Journal as a source too, because they often in different markets post or publish papers like differently depending on like what area of the country you're in.
It's weird.
Yeah, sometimes they will well, I don't think we'll go too much into that right now.
People think that like these publications are monolithic. Or like, oh, the Wall Street Journal, that's lefty media. I don't want to consume that. Like, well,
Exactly.
you know, it's a bunch of independent. Like, they're not independent necessarily, but it's a bunch of different writers. Like, they're all individuals. They just work for the company, and the company makes sure that all of them can be published. I assume.
Right. Yeah, like they just want to disseminate. Well, they just want to make their money. Like their job is to actually disseminate information, and they, they aren't really, they're not really, what do you call it, regulated as much. I do say, well, honestly, I can't speak on that subject as well either. I don't know much about how media is regulated.
They probably do end up being the primary source, or the the primary secondary source on a lot of things. Is you get like an event happens, some people were there, the reporters talk to the people who were there. So the people who were there are the primary source, and the secondary source is the reporters, and they write their report, and then you reference that, and you're a tertiary source. You're like, and you just get more and more removed from objective reality.
Right. Well, it's like, yeah, the resolution of the original image gets lost, and it's kind of like, it's funny because it's like, you can think of a dead language like that, and that would be a good example of that. Like, the longer something is read on, the more it changes, and the more it's not like the original thing at all. Like, that's exactly why we don't know what Latin actually supposed to sound like, because no one is alive who actually spoke it, and, no one's really actually spoken it as a language hundreds of years, So, honestly, the people who are speaking it now probably might not be saying it right. And if they further continue to, spread on, like, just the language, then eventually, who knows, maybe it'll change again to where it's nothing at all like the original Latin.
At least today we have digital records. Like, if we keep diligent records, then we can sort of preserve it. But like back then, they didn't really have any way to preserve the pronunciation.
Oh yeah.
Today we have like video. You and I can sit here and speak English how we think English should be spoken, and then if the information is preserved, then 100,000 years from now they can go back and see how English was spoken in this time by reviewing video from this time.
Yeah, exactly. You can actually have a record of it like that. Picture that this doesn't have a... Oh, it's Marcus Brownlee. I didn't actually think this was gonna be him. Oh yeah, here. I'm gonna send you another thing real quick, and this is
Yeah.
kind of just like show you what it's like to kind of like what losing the resolution of information is like. This is a good digital example of it. You don't have to go through the whole thing because it's like 15 minutes, but like you can start at the beginning and then go to the end and show like what it goes from. Yes, like this video is just like what happens whenever you upload a YouTube video like 1,000 times. And so like he starts out at the beginning pretty good, and then you can see that once it gets re-uploaded a bunch of times, you can start to lose some resolution and the image quality goes down.
It's like posterized now.
Yeah, a lot of the finer details are gone, and now it's just like the color's even screwed up. Like he does a very good job of getting to the point of like, just what happened.
Yep, and that's just how things propagate. They just change over time, and when you look at like a file and it goes through its compression algorithm a whole bunch, it turns the file into garbage. But with like language and other things, it just changes. It's like you have versions of English that went to Jamaica and they have different pronunciations for things. Like, the words still mean the same thing, but if they come to somewhere where the dialect is different, then it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like if somebody pronounced necklace, you'd be like, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? That's a necklace. Yeah. Like that's it's true in the United States too. Like people even in Texas don't talk the same way. Like when you leave the city, you start actually meeting people who actually talk like what people think Texans sound like. You start getting the southern accent, y'all, and you're very twangy, and you might drive a pickup truck and things like that.
Those people are so fun to talk to.
They are very fun to talk to, though. Yeah, they are.
I was having a conversation one day with a tow truck driver over the phone, trying to get him to tow an RV for me, and he talked like that, so I talked like that back to him. And my friend, who was sitting on the side, was just like could not understand either of us because
it's like, what is he saying?
All right, we gotta cruise through these memes. We got more memes to look at.
Yeah, we got some more to get through here.
Oh, here we go. This is one that I saved, right? So 15 million baby bees could be seized and burned over some rules that they have on the books. And they've got a link here. One thing that I really like about Imgur is they are pretty on point about posting the link to whatever it is that they're referencing. They don't just say like, I read this thing, it made me outraged, I made a meme, I post the meme. They say, I do all that, and I put the link to the thing that made me outraged so that you can go and click on it and be outraged the same way that I was.
Yeah, exactly. Like so that way you can get to the original source of the information.
Yep.
So what are they being burned over? Like what was the cause of that?
I think it's similar to like how whenever you bring fruit across a border, it might have like parasites or microbes, and we don't want an invasive thing to come in and ruin the ecology somewhere. So we put restrictions at borders for anything living that comes through. Like you can't take fruit on a plane and bring it to somewhere else. The same way that you can't take bees from Italy and bring them to Britain. Except, at some point it's semantics.
Right, yeah, like you guys just have to do it this way. Like you can't, even though you bought this like $50 bottle of alcohol in Spain or something like that, you gotta get rid of it. You can't bring it in. I remember when my family would import olive oil, we would have to claim it, and like they would have to check to make sure that there was nothing in it, or like it wasn't an explosive thing, which is really funny because it sure did look like an explosive, and it was just this giant steel can inside of a wooden case. And like if anything was ever just going to be an explosive on an airplane, that would be what it looked like. But they had a problem getting it to customs, but we always had to claim it. They always had to check it. It was always kind of annoying.
Yep. Somebody in the comments shares that same sentiment. He's like,
only queen bees can be imported.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. But somebody here is like, I miss the free movement of goods, people, and bees. Like, but like, was there ever free movement of goods and people? Like, didn't we always have borders with customs and checking things as they come in the border?
Not always. No, I mean before there is a time before countries existed, but it depends on how you look at humanity. Like, do we only look at it through the lens of Western civilization, like like most historians do, or do we just look at it as like, all right, well, when did people start, and like when do we start showing signs of culture? But that is true, too. We for the most of recorded history probably did have some form of borders.
There was that opium crisis in China where the British were like, yeah, free movement of goods and people, and we're gonna bring opium to the region of China. China was like, dude, stop.
Yes. So like, yes, and they're like, wait, no, please stop. Our people are killing themselves, and they're doing nothing but smoking opium.
Yep.
God.
And the country has to decide what's best for itself, and that's an administration problem. Like it's not like citizens sit down and they go, "Yep, opium's a real problem. How we're gonna get rid of it is we're gonna stop the British from importing it." No, it's an administration thing. It's like the government of China looks at China and they say, "This is a problem. We're gonna solve it. We're gonna do it like this. 'Cause that's what we have available."
We're gonna stop this shit right now. No more.
Yep. And Britain's like, "No, you're impeding our trade. We're gonna go to war with you." And it's like,
Yeah, there's also Japan too, who also traded with Britain, but they. Well, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Britain. That wasn't until later. The Dutch. It was the Dutch. The Dutch traded with the Japanese, and they traded knowledge and other things with them, and like taught them things like from Western culture. And they called the Japanese called that stuff the Dutch studies. You know, they would. I don't know what to really say about it. Like I think they wouldn't look like they would today if it wasn't for that. To be honest, that advanced their science and technology quite a bit over the course of 500 years. I think that's also what gave them like gunpowder and guns and other things when before that they didn't.
we all build each other up. It seems like people they aren't as inclined to build things up that aren't in their community. Like when we saw the COVID travel restrictions, there was a region in Africa that was populated with rhinos that usually get poached, and none of the rhinos in that region got poached during the COVID travel ban. Because I guess it turns out that the people that poach rhinos don't really care about the rhino population because they don't live there. So the ecology could just be like scorched earth. Who cares? You ever played on a Minecraft faction server? You build your base in the pretty spot and you cut all the trees down to completion, but you venture out into the wilderness and there's like trees where somebody cut the trunk and they left the top, and there's just treetops floating everywhere, and the creeper explosion holes not filled in, and the landscape looks like trash because nobody took care of it.
Yeah,
because they don't live there.
and everyone's just like everyone's just grieving the whole server. It just looks terrible.
Yep, that's like base human instinct is I don't live there, so fuck it.
Yeah, like if it's not mine, I don't care.
Yep. And then sometimes people have a change of heart when they're confronted with the person who actually owns it. Like,
oh, I got caught. Yeah, like okay, imagine if someone got caught keying their car. I'm sure you'd feel pretty bad. That person would feel pretty bad. Probably wouldn't stick around either, but you know,
especially if that person was your mom and they broke down crying, they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I should not have keyed that car. I picked the wrong one."
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh no, yeah, not like this one today.
It was a senseless crime.
Yeah.
Here's another one. So this is another one from Imgur. Time posted on, I think this is Twitter. Selena Gomez just switched her Instagram settings to private, and dude responds, "There's a slave trade going on in Libya." Like,
yeah.
Why? You are in control of the information. Why are you bringing us this information when there's more relevant things?
I know, it's like, because people don't want to be bothered about things when they're not right in front of them. Like, you know, there's slave trade going on in Libya, but here in the United States, we care more that Selena Gomez switched her Instagram settings to private. We're like, oh no, we need to see Selena Gomez. We can't be without her. And then, you know, dude comes along, he's like, can you please help us?
But what are we really supposed to do about the slave trade in Libya? Like, yes, I will personally take up arms and I will go to Libya and I will track down the slave traders and I will liberate the slaves that are in Libya. Or maybe I'll be a little bit more removed from that process and I will conscript a private military group, or maybe the U.S. military, and we'll go in there with extreme force and we'll liberate all the slaves. Like,
I think people have had enough of America World Police, but what is kind of funny is that the original idea of that, like, if that was set to stop slave trade and like slavery, see, that would have been cool, but we were like, nah, we're gonna instead attack an economic system because we don't like that. We don't want, you know, communism to spread. So yeah, we're gonna focus on that. Like, if we were gonna be the America World Police and we're gonna actually do that, we could have at least stopped things like that.
Yeah, I fear communism because the world doesn't see that capitalism generates a lot of the good things that we all benefit from. Like, why do we have cars that are so safe? Because capitalism. Why do we why do we have so many of these things? Because capitalism. And
well, right, yeah, everyone starts to find what works.
And if we you know, overthrow capitalism everywhere and instate communism, and then innovation grinds to a halt more or less, then I don't know. That's what I fear.
Well, you're right. If it's incentive to, like, you know, to develop any more research or anything like that, then yeah, it does kind of slow down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, during World War II, we saw an increase in research and development in a lot of technology. You know, we saw like computers get developed a lot. We saw things like, you know, like from Alan Turing, the father of modern computing. You know, and that started during World War II because of the Enigma machine. That's right. It was it was a Nazi communication machine that could scramble their messages and then send it to the other person on the other side. And we wouldn't have seen it if it wasn't for the industrial war complex, to be honest. That's really what it came down to.
Yeah, they made the internet. They made all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Now that's not to say war is good, but it's all to say that industry and capitalism do go hand in hand, and they go hand in hand with development first and foremost.
Yeah, a lot of the efforts of the military-industrial complex in the way of like fabricating things is logistics. We need tanks on the battlefield. How do we get the tanks to the battlefield? We have like C-130s that are capable of carrying tanks, and then we can use those for whatever once we have them, right? Like we have Huey helicopters that can ferry people out of the California wildfires, even when the local helicopters can't, because the military helicopter is designed to the spec of I need to be able to move this amount of weight anywhere in any condition, and
Right.
then they make it.
Exactly. Well, it's funny because it goes to show you just how lazy we are as human beings. We don't really choose to innovate until there is a reason to innovate, like a world war or an economic crisis, or just like, to make money, we never research or innovate for the most part just for the sake of it. I don't know if anyone's ever read Cat's Cradle. That's right, Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. Kind of the premise of the book was that most companies just did research and development in order to develop a product, and it didn't really create anything new. But the company that one of the main characters worked for, like their whole thing was just research and development of new ideas, of things that never happened before. It wasn't necessarily to compete with anyone or to it wasn't necessarily a war effort like but it was for monetary gain. In the book, he develops what I don't remember what the scientist's name was, but then one of the main characters is a scientist, and he develops a material called Ice 9, and it can create a version of ice that can form a crystal lattice with water molecules, just like ice would, but not at freezing temperature. It can happen at any temperature. The ending of the book, spoiler alert, it freezes the entire planet's supply of water, like everywhere, and it creates this catastrophic world-ending event.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's like, see, it goes to highlight the reason why we innovate and like what can happen if we do so too freely. But at the end of the day, like it does illustrate the point of why we innovate. Because sometimes there needs to be a reason.
And sometimes we go too far, and we like Icarus fly ourselves too close to the sun, and then we crash. It was a genetic modification of plant, or they were making something to break down organic material into biofuel, and they wanted it to be a microbe. So they developed this microbe that would break down organic material into biofuel, and they were like, cool, yeah, we're gonna put this in like landfills and composting piles. And by chance, somebody did like a trial in the real world, and they determined that it would kill every living thing. Like it would literally just like proliferate to the max and eat everything organic, regardless of whether it was alive or not, and turn it all into biofuel. Like, it's a good thing that we did not release that.
Yeah, because then we would not be here to tell the tale about that now, would we?
No, it would be the post-apocalypse right now.
Yeah.
The kind of post-apocalypse where food shortage is like the main thing.
Yeah. Oh no, dude, like in a post-apocalyptic world, like, a lot of older movies would like depict people eating canned food, but like, how long do you really have this canned food last? Like some of it can last a while in a number of years, but like 50 years, 100 years, there'll be nothing left, especially if there's no way to grow food or farm or forage for food anymore, if it's all been destroyed.
You gotta bust open the seed vault and like keep it clean as you can and grow what you need. You gotta do.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is there for. Where is that thing anyways? Isn't it in like Switzerland?
Yeah, I think they keep it like deep in a mountain.
Yeah, they keep it deep inside of a mountain somewhere, so that way they it's safe from any nuclear explosion or any natural disaster or anything like that.
I don't think we'll ever have to bust it open, but I'm glad that it's there.
Yeah. What do we got next? What's up next? This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this. Like, this is like totally like related to the COVID epidemic, because like, look, like I identify with that little onion. I feel like I'm that little onion sometimes. Like, it illustrates the point that college is all just for profit. Like, you pay all this money to go to school and pay tuition, and it's just like, am I really coming here to learn, or am I really just being here to get ripped off? Like, I think like most degrees that most people want to earn, like really you don't need a college degree for necessarily. I would think things like science and engineering you do, like science, engineering, and you could definitely keep business majors, but like, and teaching, I guess too. Teachers should go to college. But there's a lot of other things, like, I don't know, like underwater basket weaving or other things like that. Like, I think the idea of just going to college is, oversold a little bit.
I like the camaraderie of it. Like, I can sit around on YouTube and learn all kinds of stuff, but be like in a room with 30 other people for 4 years, and we're all kind of cruising through the same program program. We're learning the same sorts of things. When they have problems, they ask me questions. When I have problems, I ask them questions. Like, the community that's built there is really what I feel like I'm paying for.
Right, yeah, you are in a sense paying for the experience, that's for sure. Yeah, I definitely, I definitely think for a lot of people that's what it is. And like when I was at UT Arlington with you, I definitely felt like that. Like that was an awesome experience.
Yeah.
For me though, I was upset that I was paying so much money and like having such a hard time. I think what a lot of people find that who go to college and eventually drop out, they find that like it wasn't originally their idea to start with. You know, they had bigger plans in life, but they never really had time to figure out what it was because they spent like 12 years in school and it didn't really leave them all the time in the world to go discover themselves.
Yeah, a lot of people are expected to go to college right after high school. It's like,
yeah,
then it's just
yeah.
more school. The high
And,
school
like,
system just disillusions people. That's what it does. Like it
Yeah, you
it
think
produces
everything's gonna be
nihilistic
easy.
communists with no work ethic is what high school does.
Exactly. Yeah, you think everything's gonna be easy, and you go to college, and you're like, it's hard.
You mean I'm
And,
not guaranteed a job after I graduate? Yes.
Even after paying all this money. It's
Welcome
like,
to the
yeah,
world.
Exactly. Yeah, I know, right?
You mean my employer isn't just like a mythical man with a beard and a sword who gives me everything I want because I show up? No, he is a person who desires profit, and you are a means to an end.
Yeah, that's exactly what you are in the business. And it's just,
That's why capitalism sucks.
Yeah,
Because
right,
you're just
capitalism's
a
the worst.
number.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's funny because people don't realize that there are two sides to the coin of capitalism, and this is like something I have recently come into, which is that in capitalism there are people who are employees and there are people who are business, and like it's a hard concept. People do think like, well, you're not gonna make any money on a business, you're gonna lose everything, you're pantsless in a year. It's like, no, like it's a risk and it's scary, but it's not you're not gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what people think if they jump off of the deferred plan. They're like, well, that's worked so much, it's worked so well, it works for my parents, and here I am now. It's like, there's more than one way to make it. For me, I'm not sure it was in college. It was funny too because when I was in high school, everyone was like, oh yeah, you're gonna go and be this great big engineer and you're gonna do all these cool things. And I realized I got pigeonholed by what I had by the people around me when I was in high school, and I was like, oh, maybe it's not actually what I want. That's
Yeah.
what I think has been the best about the last few years, where I've just discovered what I don't want to do, which is just as valuable as knowing what you do want to do.
Maybe people in high school pushed that onto you. They were like, in one reality I might be an engineer, but instead I'm gonna encourage this guy to be an engineer, and dream fulfilled. Now I can do something else.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah, like that's what. So in electrical engineering at UT Austin, a lot of my friends when I was there, they were like, "Oh yeah, after this, I'm not actually going to be an electrical engineer. I'm just going to go do radio, TV, and film or something like that. Or I'm going to go make music or something like that." And I'm like, so why did you bother with this? You could have just spent the last 4 years doing that instead.
Yeah.
But like, it was all about the comfort of having a fallback plan, which is cool and it's good. It's good to have something to fall back on.
and to be educated, to like
And to be
understand
educated,
48
yes.
transforms and how to build circuits and like look at graphs and understand what they mean.
For sure, for sure. I'll always play devil's advocate for school though, always. Like here's the thing. What I want people to know is that school is a great path and that like everyone should have some schooling after high school. I think that is important. I feel like there should be something where you're learning even beyond high school. Like lifelong learning is one of my goals, and that's why I always read books. I mean, like I've got like right now I'm like over here I'm just looking at my stack of books, and like even on my desk I've got like as Ty Lopez would say, knowledge. And so for me it's always been about lifelong learning, but I never liked it in the framework of school because it always seemed so inefficient. I always had to go at other people's pace.
For real.
It was annoying, man. It was so annoying. That's one thing I liked about, after I graduated high school, I realized that if I wanted to learn about a subject really quick, I'd spend all day reading about it. And then, instead of spending, 1 hour a day for 180 days, now I could spend like 8 hours a day for, a day.
That's kind of what Khan Academy did. He was like,
yeah,
okay, I don't want to move at your pace. I want to read the textbook, and I'll just make a video about what was in the textbook is now in my video, and now I possess the knowledge base.
Exactly. No, dude, that's one thing that's cool about online education companies is that they produce content like that. It's a like educational video, and then it just prints money for the rest of eternity because you can teach generations of people how to do things. That's why things like Kaplan and other education companies that have online content will continue to exist probably forever.
We got more memes.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next one. Oh, yes, I love this. All right, this just spoke to me because I do always ask why. I always ask the question why, and it's not just because I'm Greek either. It's because like growing up, I was always taught to question things. Like I was like, don't just stop at like face value. Like ask why. Like why? Why?
Yeah, they made some pretty big leaps and bounds. The Greek philosophers did in like existential argument and why we actually Like, why is society set up the way it is? Why do these things happen? What sorts of, modes of belief you find yourself in? Look at, like, the Stoic belief set, and it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, like, so some of the most important, like, in mathematics were like Euclid and Pythagoras. Obviously, some of those guys, like, they did a lot of advancements in math and science, and people, like, really credit them for that. But like the humanistic side of it was just as important. Aristotle was killed actually because he was thought to be corrupting the youth with all these new ideas about not just praying to the gods, but actually thinking about yourself and your fellow humans, and actually trying to take control of reality and your surroundings, and controlling your own destiny. That's one of the reasons why he's one of my greatest heroes, actually, because I subscribe to that. I am here. I can I can control my destiny, and not just like it's not just at the hands of somebody else.
You could put it in somebody else's hands.
Huh?
You could put it in somebody else's hands. You can take the deferred plan, like the
I
max.
can. Yeah, you could. Yeah, and everyone can. But like to be helpless like that, stop. I like to depend on I just don't like to depend on others like that. Like if I were to just be a helpless baby that needed someone to tell me what to do all day long, I would oh god, I would go crazy.
For real.
It already drives me crazy having to do that. Being an employee kind of sucks because like I know I can handle most situations that come my way, but other people don't know that, and they just like, nope, you're gonna do it my way or not at all.
Yep.
But it just adds another little grain of frustration on top of the frustration pile.
Our cups filleth over.
Yes. You want to jump on to the next one?
Yeah, let's see what we got.
Yeah, this one was pretty funny. I was playing around with a video. It reminded me when I was learning how to edit videos the other day, because I got interested in it and I was trying to stitch one together, and I saw that and I was like, oh, I mean, it just represents the idea of how easy it was. I always growing up, I actually never really got to do a lot of the things that other kids did, because I didn't have like a computer at my home until I was like 13, 14, 15. I didn't really have time to like use it. I didn't have myself either, so I didn't get to use things like Blender or like media editors like that. So it wasn't really until recently that I started realizing how important it is, because like that's how we communicate nowadays, is through video and other media like that. So this thing was just like, it's that easy.
Yeah, the tools are right there in front of you. Just pick them up and join objective reality. Forge our path.
Exactly.
This is a simple edit, but you could do complex edits too. Plenty of people do. That's like every bit of content that circulates anywhere was made by somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, somebody had to put it together, and well, I mean that's the thing too. That reminded me of like what I was reading how to edit the other day, which found content. Like you can create your own content from other content, and that's kind of what like this was. Like it was someone just putting themselves inside of it, and it was pretty cool, and it was unique and individual in its own right.
Yeah.
All right, meme.
It's always simultaneously getting better and worse. So hang on. Yeah, it is.
It is. Yeah, it always is. It's kind of like what do you call it? Like the law of entropy. Things are always moving towards zero.
Yeah.
So eventually it'll even out.
Yes, there is a slave trade going on in Libya, but we also kind of live in the most peaceful time in history. And police states everywhere are like bearing down on their citizens in really disgusting ways. But we live in prosperity.
Yeah, but we live in prosperity, exactly. And as things get new too, like as we create new things and as we move forward throughout history, it's we encounter new problems that didn't exist before too. Like as we automate things, jobs that once existed are gone now. And like a great example would be like say in the future now that self-driving cars become completely ubiquitous. There's no car that doesn't have an autonomous feature. Well, this is an obvious one, but like that would take out the jobs for people who are like taxi drivers or Lyft drivers or Uber drivers or bus drivers even. Truck drivers. Yeah, exactly. All the driving jobs would be gone because they're no longer needed. But what's great about that is that there will no longer be a human in the driver's seat to make errors like that. Accidents will go down. All sorts of other terrible things associated with people driving will go away because of that. So it's like at the same time we're losing jobs and things are dying, we're also saving lives. Did you know that if you were lost in the wild without food, it would not be advantageous to eat one of your own limbs, because you would expend more calories digesting the meat and healing yourself from the trauma than you would actually gain from eating your own arm.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't do that anyway, because all of my body is more valuable, a whole tool instead of as calories.
Yeah, exactly.
Leaves are grass first, even though that's like really not nutritious at all.
No, it's something. It all keeps you moving.
What we got to do is just keep moving to the next meme.
Next meme.
So they're on this seesaw. Okay, now when the teacher comes up, everybody looks straight up, right? So they frame this in such a way that the teacher's objective reality is is something horrible has just happened, and I know exactly what it is. You kids have catapulted your classmate up into the sky. I can't believe you would do this.
Exactly, yeah. Oh yeah, that's exactly what context, it does too. Like if you see something out of context, your brain doesn't know how to stitch it together because there's no past information to base it on, and you're already predicting the future based on nothing.
Yeah, and we get framing like that in all kinds of different things. Like when they write their headline, that's the frame. That's it could say whatever in the article to actually like clarify it and make it more objectively true, but the headline is where they get to gather around the seesaw and make it look like whatever they want.
Right. Yeah, like they, whoever walks up on that, they'll make their own conclusion. It's kind of like, have you ever had you have younger siblings? Like, did you ever get framed by your sister, or did you ever frame your sister for anything?
We were too far apart, but I understand the premise.
Okay.
And
yeah,
it's like
no,
to the
my,
parent, they can't distinguish because you're saying one thing, you're saying something else.
Yeah, no, my sister framed me for a lot of stuff when we were kids. She would be like, "Yeah, Costa hit me," and I'm like, "I didn't even touch you." Oh man, anyone who has like siblings that are pretty close together, like you can understand. It's just like when you're kids, your parents can believe that one of the kids would hit the other one, so they'll just, for fun, they'll just be like, "Hey, he hit me." And you'll be looking at your sibling, just like, "You're a son of a bitch," you know that? You're that bored right now? Oh man, and my stepbrother and I would get into it all the time just because of stuff like that, and I eventually learned to just stop complaining to my parents because they didn't want to help.
Yep.
Eh.
We're in the home stretch. We got 5 memes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, check out
this one.
Jupiter at home. It's pretty convincing. It's like low budget cosplay levels of Jupiter. The only
Right.
thing it's missing is the spot.
Yeah, that's true. I guess like if I was looking from this far, the only dead giveaway would be the spot. I think that thing's been going for like 700 years. That's like a storm that's been raging on Jupiter for a long time.
We gotta go bust it up. Can't have storms lasting that long. We need to exert our authority over that storm.
We should just figure out how to generate energy from it. Like if it's gonna last a long time, it's a dependable source of energy. Like say we ever make a base on Jupiter or near Jupiter somehow, even though its pressures are extremely great, we could somehow turn it into energy.
And then we'd probably have like the energy go up to some like orbital facility and then laser beam back to some other facility. It could either
Maybe like on one of the moons.
Yeah, we could use it anywhere really. One of the big
Yeah,
ideas
we
right
could.
now is create a Dyson swarm and like harvest solar energy from a really large area around the sun, and then laser beam it to collection facilities near Earth so that we can use it here.
Yeah. Like I remember watching a video about that from Kyrgyzstan. A lot of people probably seen that one. It's that's an awesome idea, and honestly, I feel like we should be working as hard as we can to achieve that because like why not?
Yeah, we want it all.
If we could learn how to do that, the next step after that is learning how to steer our solar system, which a lot of people might say is crazy. I mean, theoretically, it's possible though. We just have to devote more time and energy to it, and less time, enslaving each other.
Yes. Before we go steering our solar system, I would want to have a really good array of like basically omnidirectional telescopes so that we can plot the position of every astronomical object and like get a really clear picture of what the universe actually looks like in terms of what is where doing what. Which I think we actually have a meme that goes along space. Pull that up real quick.
Space.
First
Oh
ever-
yeah, that's right. I saw that. Yeah. First ever space hotel slaves to be operational in 2027. Healthcare, please.
Yep.
Yeah. I will say
different
this.
people.
Huh?
It's different people though, like developing the space hotel versus doing the healthcare. Like you can't expect everybody to do everything.
Right. No, yeah, we can't. Yeah. Like Elon Musk, like as brilliant as he is, he's focusing on like a very limited number of things, and he's successful because of that. He can't do all of that. So it does prove the point. I wonder what they were going for with this. Well, I suppose what they're going for is that the focusing on those things, and like we pay a lot of attention to things like that, but we don't focus as much on like getting people free healthcare, which honestly I feel like we should have that. It would be kind of nice to know that no matter what situation I'm in my life, I'll have healthcare. Like that's one of the reasons why I'm actually still at my job, because I get healthcare through it, and the insurance pays for like my doctor's visits and all that, and otherwise I just wouldn't go to the doctor, and that's not good.
Exactly. I think part of the problem here is this seems like a really like insanely luxury item. It's like, why are we developing more luxury goods when we don't even have like consumer goods for everybody?
Right.
But man, if we could have all kinds of, like looking at this hotel, it looks like it's a rotational based thing, and it has a dock in the middle that's, relatively stable. So the ship comes in and it matches spin with the thing, and then they're together, and then they dock, and goods come in the middle, and then on the outside, it feels like like gravity, based on the rotational speed and the distance from the center.
Right.
And if we could do that on this small scale, then you turn that ring into a cylinder, and now you have an O'Neill cylinder. And if we turn...
What's that?
Oh, it's like my favorite space structure. So the idea is you just have this big rotating cylinder, and you probably wouldn't have it out in the open like this. You'd rather have it encased in rock so that the rock will stop all the micrometeors. And you probably wouldn't have big sheets of glass like this, but some way to let light in. And you could build natural landscapes and use like aerogel or foam to sculpt it out.
Right.
But if we took the mass of Earth and turned it all into O'Neill cylinders, we would have so much more usable land. It would just be nutty. I think
Yeah,
I
you're
saw
increasing the surface area by like, I don't even know, like trillions of times probably. That's just a number I made up, by the way. But like, yeah, like it would be a lot.
It wouldn't even be that bad to live on one of these, it looks like. If you make it big enough, it could be the size of several towns, and then
it would be really cool.
And there wouldn't be as much like tourist crap. Like, who's gonna litter in this place? Who's gonna throw their McDonald's bag out the window?
Would there even be McDonald's at that point?
Something. There'd have to be some way to feed people, but it doesn't have to be like
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, Ben, but how do you know that we don't already live in an O'Neill cylinder right now? How do you know that we just don't live in this giant cylinder and the sun's just at the middle of it and it just turns on and off at the end of every day?
Well, there's actually this experiment that I haven't actually done any of these experiments personally, but they basically had these two obelisks and they put them distance away from each other, and then at specific times in the day they measured where the shadow was, and if the Earth was not a sphere they would behave in a certain way, and if the Earth is a sphere they would behave in a certain way, and we saw the behavior was that of a sphere. It was, you got these two obelisks, they're some distance apart, the sun is like here, their shadows are like that.
Right, yeah, that was Aristarchus. Yeah, whenever he's the first person ever to figure out what the circumference of the Earth was.
And he did it pretty darn accurately, especially for the time. I mean, nobody takes a pair of calipers and like puts it on the Earth, but it's impressive.
He paid a guy to walk like several thousand kilometers and measure out, well, I don't know if it was several thousand, whatever 7 degrees worth of the circumference of the Earth is, but it was several miles. I don't know how many it was, but he walked that distance and then he calculated based on the angles of the suns on the obelisk, like like kind of like a slice that would penetrate all the way down to the center of the Earth, and that was kind of like a slice of the pie of the Earth.
And you just don't.
Yeah, crazy how he's able to do that.
This guy on YouTube, Isaac Arthur, goes over all different kinds of space structures that have been theorized, and it's really taken off. Like, since the early days of science fiction, now we're like, okay, these things are feasible. Like, this guy O'Neill designed the O'Neill cylinder, and like it's actually got specifications. It's like, due to the limits of modern structural steel, it will be this big in diameter, it will be this long, it will rotate at this frequency, and it's like, well, it's all already there. Like,
yeah, we could do it now. Yeah.
All we have to do is logistics. That's all we need, is just like logistics.
Do you think that like by the time we're 40 or 50 or maybe even a little older, we'll have things like this?
I would say so. And part of what really makes me think that is the Space Force. Like the ground forces of the military-industrial complex, their design specifications for stuff is like, I want a truck that'll move 10 short tons of cargo anywhere in any condition. Now, here is the contract somebody make it. And Oshkosh pops up and they're like, I can do that. I can make that truck, and we're gonna do it like this. And it's gonna and then they figure out all the details. And
exactly, yeah.
Space Force is going to be like, I want to be able to move 10 short tons into space from any location. And SpaceX is going to be like, ooh, we can do that.
We can do that. We did that already.
Yeah.
And we can do it repeatedly and cheaply. Oh my god, yeah. I'm glad that NASA is going to contract with them. I think that is the best thing that could have happened to American research in science and space. Like, in the last, when was it that they killed the space program at NASA?
Probably like years ago or something.
I feel like it was 10 years ago, yeah. I remember watching the last space shuttle flight launch, though. I was like, man, that sucks, that this is the last time we're ever going to get to see that in our life. Who knows when that's going to happen again. Now we're just going to ride with the Russians or the Chinese from now on.
Yep, and that happened for a while. Yeah, it's been 10 years. August 31st, 2011 was the last mission.
Yeah, crazy.
But it fueled more development is what it did, because it's like suddenly now going to space isn't just something that the big government does. It's like, actually, yeah, go do do that yourself or it's not going to happen.
Right. Too, like 10 years ago, well, what's gonna happen now? Teachers schools like, I don't know, private companies will probably step in and take over the development for that. Now here we are. Private company did do that.
Yep.
SpaceX.
It took somebody with drive, but it happened.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got two more memes.
Sumo.
This one, can I zoom in more? I'd like to zoom in. This shows the difference in media consumption between cohorts, essentially. So, like, it's got it broken down here. Online videos, video games, broadcast TV, physical press, the radio, the online press, music streaming, none of these. Yeah, important category. Online TV streaming, live stream, books. I don't know where they're getting this data from. I don't feel like I was polled. But
Yeah, I know. I don't feel like I was pulled in that either.
yeah, and I think that's evident in that 24% of Gen Z watches TV. Really?
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess maybe they do because that's just what their parents had. But it is kind of crazy to think about that. There's still 24% of kids in the world who do that. Well, I don't know if you'd say kids now, but yeah.
And-
oh, what does it say for millennials?
Yeah, this is millennials, and it shows the previous graph outlined here, so you can see the change in shape. I think millennials just consume more. I think that's the idea here.
Yeah.
Then Gen X. I think Gen X was raised by the boomers, and the boomers have the least area under the curve of any of them. Like, get off your phones.
Yeah, get off your phones.
Live in the
these
real
damn kids.
world.
Yeah, get off. Go get a job or something. Go ride your bike or start a business or something.
Yep.
Also bring me Pampers.
and so the Gen X, their shape looks a lot more like that.
Yeah.
Except, they actually utilize the things at their disposal more than the boomers do. I mean, like, this is just 42% broadcast TV, and then just like nothing else.
Nothing.
Like, what are podcasts?
They don't listen to them at all.
That sounds like a
Yeah,
buzzword made by the communists.
The podcasts, well, the only pods I know of are the piece that come in a pod because I picked those when I was a kid. I think they are mostly concerned with things that are immediately in front of them and less abstract ideas. They do. Intelligence can be tracked by people's willingness to think about the abstract, because the more you can think about things that aren't in front of you, the more you can think about things like calculus and physics and other things like that, or like the different things that make good art, and like the philosophy behind that. But the less you're willing to talk about that, the more you're probably concerned with immediate things in front of you. Which is not to say that boomers are unintelligent. There's certainly those of them who are very smart, but most of them were concerned with things right in front of them.
Yeah, which means you live in a small world.
Exactly. And as a counterpoint to that, a lot of the younger generations, like Gen Z and Gen X, we have things like existential crises and all that, things like that. And we get things like doomers who are just like concerned with the destruction of humankind and things that'll happen in the future that aren't really here yet.
Yep, they just are disillusioned. It's that nihilistic communism.
Exactly.
I truly think that's the worst ideology of today, is nihilistic communism. Total disillusionment with the system. It's not working. In fact, it's counterproductive. It's bringing about all of our ends. No one is doing anything. I also don't want to do anything, but I also want to be given free stuff, and I don't care if that makes the system collapse because I hate the system.
Yeah, exactly. I hate the system and I want to do nothing to change it.
Yep.
Not to slam on my own people, but like that's what Greek people are like. All they do is sit around all day and talk about how the government sucks and how it's screwing them, and then never get up out of their chairs to do anything about it.
Yep. They're sitting there watching broadcast TV.
Yeah.
Lamborghini made a commercial, or no, they didn't make a commercial, and they were like, why did we do that? Well, because our target market isn't sitting around watching TV.
No.
The ambitious people don't do that.
No, they don't. Like, it's funny that you would mention that, though, because the other day when we were planning for this podcast, obviously we're the kind of guys who likes to actually do things and put things in action. Well, I came home and Ethan was over here, and they were all like, "Well, why don't you come and watch the show with us?" And we want to watch the show. And I was like, "Well, I made plans with Ben. We're doing something right now. I will watch it some other time." I made a sacrifice. I could have spent time with my friends, but I didn't really plan on that. So I was like, "All right, sacrifice."
Yeah, and maybe you'll be better for having watched the show. Maybe you'll be better for having done the podcast. You'll have moved on either way.
Exactly. I kept moving. That's the most important thing. Rich people don't stop. They don't slow down. Even when they retire, they continue to work in other ways. Like Mark Cuban, he retired when he was 30, and then he kept working. He bought the Dallas Mavericks and turned that into one of the best basketball teams in is it the NBL? Yeah, the NBL.
He's just a G.
He's just a G, man. The grind never stops.
We have one more meme. I think
meme?
I think it's a good note to end on. 10 signs that you're doing well in life. You have a roof over your head. You ate today. You have a good heart. Wish good for others. You have clean water. Someone cares for you. You strive to be better. You have clean clothes. You have a dream. You're breathing. We live in the best time in human history. Like, we really do.
We do. Just especially in America, America because we have like something like 7 cars for every person. Like we all have access to, maybe not equal access to transportation, but like there is transportation for everyone in America. There's water for most of us, food for most of us. We all have access to the internet. It's like we all on the same playing field in some ways or the other. What it really comes down to in a lot of cases is mindset. And there are definitely things that systemically work against some people more than others. I'm not going to deny that, but there are also a lot of opportunities to take control and move in your own direction.
Yeah, you can't have everything. Like, not everyone can afford rent in LA because that's the way
No.
it is. Like, that's
Yeah.
that's the market.
Oh, yeah, I
California
just
is
tell people
always
in LA
sunny,
that.
right by the beach. It's a really prime location. High dollar real estate gets built there. We could fund public housing projects, but the system's really complicated, and I don't have the answer. I just know
Yeah,
that
right.
you can get a house somewhere and have amenities to it, and if you have a car, you can drive anywhere and enjoy all the prosperity that America has to offer.
Exactly, yeah. Like I know a lot of people probably crap on us too, because they're like, oh well, the pull yourself up by your bootstraps crowd is full of shit, and like I think that some of them are, but there are others of them, who have some of the right ideas. Like say I, was upset with my job, I could quit my job and I could go and find another one and make more money or work less time. I have the power to do that. I have the power to take control of my own life. But other people come back and attack you and be like, well, what if you have kids or you have a family that you have to support? I'm like, well, then you have to make sure that fit into your life plan. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that everyone has the wherewithal to sit there and plan what their life is going to look like and then things don't change, but because they do. But, if you early on took the time to, kind of just, paint that picture of what, you want things to look like in the future, it helps you kind of, steer the boat a little bit and like you can, pick where you want to go. Hold on a second. But yeah.
Yeah, you gotta carve out your own destiny. You're a human.
Exactly.
You've got autonomy. Specialization is for insects. You should be able to do everything that you need to do.
Exactly. I feel like people get stuck in thought patterns that people around them tend to have. And it all comes back to mindset, like I was saying. Like people, that's how you get generational poverty. People who are born poor are taught by their parents that, oh, you'll never be rich, you'll never become anything. It's too hard, it can't be done. And it's not to say that it's not hard, but it discourages them from actually trying to defeat the system.
Yeah.
Their creation happens now, and like you look at people who are super wealthy, and not all of them are from generational wealth. A lot of them are the ones who started it themselves. They were like, all right here and now, we're just gonna start running right now, and we're gonna go make something big, and I'm gonna take control of my life and make something of myself, and not just let other people define me.
And you wake up one day and people are like, you're evil. You're Jeff Bezos. You're
You're nasty.
Yeah.
I know. I know, and they're the ones who think that, that he should solve all the world's problems.
How can you ever hope to be successful if you resent people who are successful?
You never meet your heroes. Never meet your heroes. That's what it is. That's actually I thought about that the other day too. It's better to idolize people who are already dead than to idolize people who are alive, because if you meet your heroes, you'll often be disappointed by their humanity. Think about it now. You've got people who've got like $100,000, $200,000. That's a pretty good amount of money. But and they give what they can, but they don't give it all away, and they don't
Why they have it.
they have other things to do. That's why they have it. Yeah. But like we don't fault them for not giving it all away. And then you've got Jeff Bezos, who wants to pour quite a bit of his money into his company Blue Origin, which is his space exploration company, which I don't know if a lot of people even know about that. But it's where a lot of it I think he's gonna end up putting it.
Which, I mean, it's his money to do what he wants with. He's built an empire, and the whole point was to produce. The point wasn't to provide. The point was to produce. He is providing because, I mean, like, he probably runs the biggest private logistics of anybody.
Yeah, he does.
And they expand into other areas too. They do web hosting, and they started from humble beginnings, like selling books. And why did he start selling books? Because books were, the most traded thing. Or I don't know what exactly his decision was, but started with books, moved on to everything, anything that he could possibly sell. Expand the business model and continue expanding to make more money, to do more expansion. I think it's spooky to think that people want that to be taken away. Like they see.
Oh, there are their chances of like ever being like that.
Yeah, no, they see like Jeff Bezos's empire, and they're like, yeah, but the government should really take over that, or we should like bring in regulation to to coax it into being how we want. It's like the whole reason that it's so successful is because it's not managed by the government. It's not managed by the monolithic, like, infinite security government. This guy's taking risks, and his primary goal is to generate profit. Like,
Top of that, he does, the company does its job pretty damn well. It does better than, like, so Amazon, I think we would all agree, works better than the United States Postal Service. I don't think there's anyone in the world who wouldn't agree that you couldn't get a package from Amazon delivered faster than them. And people will say, well, Amazon's taking away competition from the US Post Office and that's why they're failing. And it's like, I disagree, because if you looked back about when was it? 2000, I got to figure out when this was. Years ago. I think it was when George Bush was still in office. So I guess 2007 or earlier, something like that. Put this bill into place where the pensions for United States postal employees had to be paid for like 50 years in advance. And so that like crippled the system. Like they didn't have money to like buy new trucks, create better logistic systems. And like now at this last election, we've like torn the postal system apart. And like that's the thing. Like it's not that Amazon's taking competition away from the United States Postal Service. It's that they're in their own way.
Yep.
They're not competing because they're in their own damn way. And nothing probably will change that. I really don't want the USPS to go away.
Yeah, no, they're amazing. We love them.
They may be super inefficient, but they do serve a purpose. And originally, one of the greatest benefits to it was that the USPS, you could actually open your own savings account. And for people in rural areas, since the USPS was in in rural areas, you could open up a savings account even if you lived in like, I don't know, middle of BFE, like in the middle of Kansas. I suppose would be a great example. But maybe one day Amazon will step in and do that and help serve another role in society.
Yeah, I think it'll all sort itself out like it's supposed to. I mean, we've been concerned about everything forever. So, even if the worst case scenario happened, right? Like total authoritarian takeover of every bit of land on the planet, all the ice caps melt, like every bad thing happens. I think we'll still be here doing stuff. It'll just be different stuff. We'll overcome.
Right. Well, and like here's the thing. What was it? The Black Plague that killed like was it 1/3 or 2/3 of the population? It killed like a significant amount of people. Obviously I can't remember what the number is. So don't quote me on that. But it killed quite a bit of the known population at the time, and it was like a world-changing event. Like it was very likely that you knew someone who died during the Black Plague if you were alive then. But we're still here. We're still here, and it's funny to mention that now, like during COVID times. We're all freaking out that it might not ever go away, which it won't probably, but we'll still be here. We'll just live with it rather than around it eventually.
Yeah, it's all gonna be all right.
It'll be all right.
Keep it pushing.
We'll all be just chilling one day. Well, I guess that covers it all for this podcast, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
Pick it back up next week.
Exactly. Thank you guys for watching. We end this. Like, share, subscribe, comment below, share. What do people say on
Push all
YouTube?
the buttons.
Push every button. Yeah, hit the little bell icon down there.
Yeah,
share to your friends, your mom, your family, your dad, your teacher.
I'm sure
your
the
dog.
algorithm is paying attention to all of that, and if you push all the buttons, then it'll be nice to us.
Yep. All right. Later.